How to wholesale fire damaged properties. Guys, this is Ginn. In today's video, I'm going to tell you not only how to find these fire damaged properties, I'm going to teach you how to pull a list, how to market to them, how to talk to these sellers, and obviously how to find the right cash buyers. But before I get into it, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button and you hit that subscribe notification button so you can stay up to date on the best wholesaling information to date. Let's talk about it. What are fire damaged properties? This term literally means exactly what it is. It means a property at some point in some time was damaged by a fire event. And properties that have any type of fire damage are earmarked by your county officials in the fire department, because usually the fire department is called out to put out the fire. And hopefully they get there soon enough and they take care of it. And then that's what marks a property for fire damage, because whenever there's any type of event, including your government, then it winds up on a list. And this is why I love fire damaged properties, because this literally means where there's smoke, there's fire. This is a perfect opportunity for you to create a win-win situation for any property that falls on this unfortunate event. Now listen, one of the reasons I really love fire damaged properties, I don't like seeing people suffer, and actually I want to help them out. So it's a perfect fit for what I do as a wholesaler and what you're going to do as a wholesaler. Why I like them is because most wholesalers actually overlook this little niche. And the reason is they assume every property, oh my gosh, it's been burnt to the ground. There's nothing to do with it. It's just land value. In fact, that is the farthest thing from the truth. A fire damaged property, understand, is whenever you have a fire in your home, if you ever have a fire, your first thing you should do is call 911 so you can salvage the home and, most importantly, save human lives. And that's the priority whenever these events happen. But once we get past that, we have to sort out the mess. The reality is most fires start in a kitchen. Microwave, toasters, and sometimes the oven, but any type of appliance that creates some sort of heat event is at risk for something catching on fire. The bag of popcorn catches on fire, the toast caught on fire, you know what I'm saying. In the event they call the fire department and it gets put out quickly, then there's some damage in the kitchen, it's burnt. But honestly, that passed the fire, and once they recognize that the house is healthy, it actually is just a simple rehab event. And guys, this happens more often than you know about. I've had a small fire in my kitchen before. Luckily, I didn't have to call the fire department, but I was like this close to doing it. And this happens a lot. There is a lot of homes in the United States. Fires are inevitable. And then this is where you come into the wholesaler. Once the fire is put out and they're on this list, the other part is most wholesalers, they avoid getting this list because number one, they don't know how to get it. And number two, it's intimidating. And number three, as we spoke about earlier, they think every property is burnt to the ground. A matter of fact, most of the properties just need to remodel the kitchen, redo some work. And I love chasing down the minor cosmetic fire damaged properties, but I'm going to teach you not only how to do those, but all the way up to the fire-ridden, burnt down property, all the way to the value of the land. Now, our next step is, how do I pull this fire damage list? Most people want to overthink this one. So if you have a fire damage list, where should I go to get that report? The reality is, some way, some form, it's going to run through your local fire department. And I guarantee you they have a list of all the calls they've gone on fires for. And remember, who funds your local fire department? It's usually funded with your local property taxes. So this is a public list, and I'm here to tell you it's 100% public. The challenge you're going to face is the privacy policy, as you do on all your other government lists. These lists have gotten more popular because wholesalers have recognized these are great niches to go after that very few wholesalers chase down. So what I would do is I would approach my local fire department, and you guys are probably going to have multiple ones. That's the really cool thing about it. And just ask for a list. Can I get a list of all the properties that you have called out for a fire damage event, not a life-saving event, a fire damage event that they actually had to put out a fire? And how can I get that information? Just ask nicely. Listen, firefighters got a special place in my heart because they do the stuff that you and me aren't willing to do. So be nice. Most of them are super, super nice people. There's guys, there's gals in there. You might have to deal with like the battalion chief, I think they call him, and just follow their instructions. And as I said, to overcome resistance, you've got to beat it with persistence. So be super nice, but keep asking the questions to get that report. Remember, this is public information. You're going to have to navigate around the privacy policy on this. Remember, persistence beats resistance. Just be super nice about it because these are wonderful people and they are not looking for a confrontation. So now you have your fire damage list. Awesome. Hopefully you've gotten to this point, you have it in your hand, and you're asking yourself the golden question: how do I market to these fire damaged properties? And guys, this is going to follow along your regular wholesaling lines. And what I mean by that is, number one, the easiest and fastest way to do it is simply through cold calling. Now, here's the really cool thing is, hopefully the list isn't too long, but hopefully it is long. And I say that twofold, meaning I don't want a lot of fire damaged properties, but the longer the list is, the more opportunity you have to help people out. And so now you have this list. The number one way to do it is simply cold call them. So the list isn't that long. What I would do is I would just go over to truepeoplesearch.com. I would find their phone number. I'd reach out and just call them. And I don't start out with a fire damage. Like, I know your property's fire damage. Say, are you the owner of the property? You have any interest in selling? And then let them tell you what's going on with it. And then that's where you can tell them, go, listen, I actually specialize in buying fire damaged properties for cash. Is that something that we can discuss? Now you just go through the normal qualifications. This right now is where you want to just walk them through and find out the severity of the fire. But we're going to go in that a little bit deeper on the next topic. So cold calling is number one. The next one, you could do an SMS campaign. That's simply just sending them a text on it. It's a little bit more informal. I like cold calling. The third way is you could do reverse driving for dollars. So remember I told you earlier, it comes down to the amount of damage to the property. Most fires in a house start within the kitchen, and usually they're contained to the kitchen. And if they're minor, then you could do a reverse driving for dollars and stick it on the door, because from the outside, you would never know that property's even had any type of fire damage. Now, if the property is halfway burnt down or it's burnt to the ground, obviously reverse driving for dollars is not going to work because there's nowhere to stick the dang note. So understanding that cold calling is preferred, SMS texting, and the ones that have the lighter damage, you can do the reverse driving for dollars. So now let's talk about dealing with fire damaged properties with the seller. Like, how do I evaluate this? Rick, this is overwhelming and it scares me. And I'm here to tell you, take a deep breath. This is still a property. It is just a mathematical problem. What you want to do is run your typical ARV for the property. And here's the really cool part, where you guys struggle trying to get what repair costs and rehab is and all the contractors is. A lot of the heavy lifting is already done for you. So every house in America, for the most part, has some sort of insurance policy, especially the ones with a mortgage. So when this event happens, they notify their insurance company. They send out multiple contractors to write an estimate on it. And they put it all in a perfect estimate sheet and everything. And the beauty of that estimates are what the repairs on the house are. So all you have to do is replace your typical repair estimate with what the insurance has bidded on what the damage to the house is. And then that is basically just like your fixed rehab cost. So take the ARV, minus off the insurance estimate or what they're going to get for the insurance proceeds. Then you can multiply that by your percentage of your maximum allowable offer. And that's how you're going to structure your offer. To be honest with you, it's kind of easier because the insurance company is ultra conservative and they're going to come in with the best number possible. So it's going to give you a much more accurate number as opposed to you guessing, trying to figure out what the costs on it are. And guys, understand this. A lot of these houses have some sort of insurance claim. Work with that insurance number so you can truly figure out what the damage is. And number two, what's the real cost to get the house back to a sellable position. So when it comes to your fire damage properties, now you're ready to sell them to your cash buyers. So at this point, you've got one under contract. You've figured out how to calculate the offer as I did before. And now you got to find a cash buyer for it. And really, you got to understand the cash buyer is going to be a little bit more specific for these types of properties. And it's going to be based on the type of damage that has occurred in the fire. So you can dictate what type of cash buyer is going to be. So for instance, if you have just a light cosmetic fire damage, meaning the property was contained to the kitchen, and you know that it's X amount of dollars to just fix the kitchen and put a new kitchen in there, and the rest of the house is in great shape and it looks good, that could be a house for just a wholesaler. It could be for a fix and flipper. It could be for a landlord, and it opens it up to the entire buying spectrum. What I'm telling you is if you have a light contained fire to the kitchen and it's minor damage, or even just contained to the kitchen, is you have the full gamut to sell those properties regularly. Now, a lot of buyers are scared to deal with anything with fire damage, so make sure you disclose that when you're selling the property so you don't get any tire kickers. The second type is it's like a medium damage property, and this is one where it's the fire's going outside the kitchen, or in some instances the bathroom. Now you have a little bit more substantial damage to the house. These properties are ideal for fix and flippers. What they're looking for is, long as there's no roof damage or any type of truss or like hard structural is, they might have to put in 50 and 75 grand to resand all the walls down, put in some new drywall, smoke remediation, whatever it is. And that is perfect for the fix and flipper. And they love doing those types of properties. Once again, most fix and flippers that deal with fire damage properties, they love to deal with those types of properties because they know how to fix them and they know how to make them right. The last type of buyer is the one where you had the big fire. And when you go up to the property, you can physically see like half the house is missing. It's burnt to the ground. And that is going to be someone who basically going to build a brand new spec home, whatever they want on it. Maybe they sell it to a builder and they flip it, but they're basically going to bulldoze the property and start over and just work with the raw land. Because remember, the raw land has value and you're going to have to calculate that. You already know what the cost of rebuilding the house is because you have the insurance estimate. So guys, you can just reverse engineer out that and sell that to somebody that wants to develop a brand new property and build like a spec home, because they're most likely going to sell that for full retail. It wouldn't quite make sense to a landlord or like a regular buyer, because that is a big project and that could take up to a year or more. So guys, fire damage properties are a niche that if you are not exploring, you need to open it up, because a lot of wholesalers avoid this because they go, oh my God, fire damage is so overwhelming. I've broken down every step in this video, how to start, how to attack, and how to sell your fire damage properties. The question is, are you going to take advantage of it? So guys, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit that notification subscribe button. And if you have any questions about fire damage or anything that you can add to this, make sure you put it in the comments below. Guys, this is Ginn, and I'll see you in the next video.